2 years after the War of the Best, the Straw Hat crew finally returns to Sabaody. However, the archipelago has changed, and with dangerous pirates lurking around in droves, their departure to the New World may not go as smoothly as they hoped.
On the next One Piece, the beginning of the new chapter, the Straw Hats reunited. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
A crew of fake Straw Hat pirates is formed, taking advantage of the disappearance of the real Straw Hats. Luffy, in disguise, crosses paths with the fake Luffy, who causes a scene in the middle of Sabaody. Unaware of who he's facing, the imposter finds himself on the receiving end of a mysterious power.
On the next One Piece, an explosive situation. Luffy versus fake Luffy. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
One by one, the Straw Hats reunite as they prepare to depart for the New World as soon as possible. However, Sentomaru and the Navy have yet again amassed a team of pacifistas, threatening to repeat the same tragedy that drove the crew from Sabaody 2 years ago.
On the next One Piece, the Navy has set out. The Straw Hat's in danger. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
While the Straw Hats continue to gather at the Sunny, the fake Straw Hats plan a gathering of their own, attracting the attention of the Navy. As soldiers storm Brook's concert, the self-styled Soul King is forced to perform his final show.
On the next One Piece, big guns assembled. The danger of the fake Straw Hats. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
The Straw Hats are assembled on the Sunny and ready to depart, but their captain is still missing. As a battle breaks out between the fake Straw Hats and the Navy, Luffy is drawn into the chaos. Unable to keep a low profile any longer, he shows the world the strength he acquired in his 2 years of absence.
On the next One Piece, the battle is on. Show them what you got from training. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
After 2 long years and 1 chaotic afternoon, the Straw Hats are finally ready to renew their voyage. However, before they can set off to Fishman Island, they must contend with a massive Navy force determined to stop them. Fortunately, they return to Sabaody with some powerful friends.
On the next One Piece, everyone together. Luffy setting out for the New World. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Encased in a protective bubble, the Sunny departs for Fishman Island far under the sea. As the Straw Hats marvel at the sights, Frankie tells the tale of the man who proved to be the crew's greatest ally in their time apart. Then, suddenly, a mysterious shadow closes in on the ship.
On the next One Piece, a surprising fact. The man who guarded the Sunny. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
The Sunny continues descending towards Fishman Island, now with a decidedly unwelcome caribou on board. With their bubble threatening to pop at every turn, the crew braves an undersea waterfall only to stumble into the den of the legendary monster, the Kraken. With no way to battle such a massive foe, a watery grave seems all but inevitable.
On the next One Piece, deadly combat under the sea. The demon of the ocean strikes. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji leave the relative safety of the Sunny to face the Kraken in its own territory. Putting their powerful new skills to work, they survive the encounter, only to be swept away by a downward current. Now, separated from the rest of the crew, they become lost in the murky depths.
On the next One Piece, lost in the deep sea, the Straw Hats get separated. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
The legendary ghost ship, the Flying Dutchman, emerges from the darkness, closing in on the horrified Straw Hats. However, before they encounter its creepy captain, a volcano erupts, sending them diving into a trench. What they find there is not the seafloor, but another deadly nightmare.
On the next One Piece, undersea volcanic eruption, drifting to the Fishman Island. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Although Fishman Island is in sight, Luffy's descent is halted by a crew of fishmen riding atop massive sea monsters. Calling themselves the new Fishman Pirates, they speak of Luffy's old adversary, Arlong. Running out of time, the Straw Hats attempt a desperate maneuver to propel themselves straight into their destination at any cost.
On the next One Piece, landing at the Fishman Island, beautiful mermaids, I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
After a safe, if explosive, arrival on Fishman Island, the Straw Hats make their way to Mermaid's Cove, where they receive a warm welcome. Unfortunately, the three princes of the island don't seem as cordial as the mermaids, and the Straw Hats are forced to hide. Then, just when it seems like danger is passing, Sanji is struck with a shocking medical emergency.
On the next One Piece, excitement blowout! Sanji's life under threat! I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Sanji's love for mermaids has turned from a harmless obsession into a life-threatening disaster. Luffy and his friends take him to the Mermaid Cafe to rest, but they must find a blood donor soon. Later, Kami introduces them to Madame Charlie, owner of the cafe and expert fortune teller. Unfortunately, it seems that she only sees destruction in Luffy's future.
On the next One Piece, the Fishman Island will be annihilated? Charlie's prophecy! I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Beneath its dazzling exterior, Fishman Island hides a dark history. Harboring an age-old grudge, the residents of the island prepare to take action. Meanwhile, Luffy and friends cause a commotion at Papagu's shop and have an unexpected encounter with Neptune, king of Fishman Island. Luffy and friends accept King Neptune's invitation and head for Ryugu Palace. However, Luffy is tempted by the smell of food and leaves the group in search of something to eat. Wandering the palace, he soon comes upon an enormous tower with a sturdy sealed door. What is the story behind the strange weapons lodged in its side?
On the next One Piece, the Ryugu Palace, taken by the shark that they saved. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Plagued by Vanderdecken, the mermaid princess Shirahoshi has been confined to the hardshell tower for years. With its doors open for even a moment, Decken launches an axe straight at her heart. Meanwhile, things take a sour turn for the Straw Hat Pirates in the palace, as Neptune's army suddenly surrounds them.
On the next One Piece, a coward and a crybaby, the princess in the hard-shell tower. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
The Straw Hats face off with Neptune. While they have the upper hand at first, Neptune's soldiers threaten to pop their bubble, leaving them to drown in the underwater chambers. Meanwhile, Luffy and Shirahoshi avoid the pirates' attempted infiltration of the tower. The peaceful Ryugu Palace soon devolves into chaos.
On the next One Piece, it's an emergency! The Ryugu Palace is occupied! I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Luffy escapes with Shirahoshi, throwing the palace into an even greater panic. The pirates who've infiltrated its walls attack with a strange desperation, carrying out a mission that the Straw Hats have yet to understand. Meanwhile, after a scuffle of their own, Sanji and Chopper come across an injured Hachi.
On the next One Piece, the Ryugu Palace in shock, the kidnapping of Shirahoshi. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Hordy's plan for revenge is set into motion. The defenses of the Ryugu Palace have been left wide open, thanks to the unexpected actions of the pirates thrown into its walls. The Straw Hats, who had unwittingly taken control of the palace, must now defend it against the new Fishman pirates, who pour into its halls, led by Hordy himself.
On the next One Piece, Hordy's onslaught, the retaliatory plan set into motion. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
As seawater pours through the palace's broken wall, Hordy attacks Neptune's army. Neptune risks his life to protect his soldiers, but cannot triumph in battle. Just when things are starting to look grim, Zoro challenges Hordy himself. However, with the seawater continuing to rise, the swordsman is forced to battle the Fishman underwater.
On the next One Piece, the battle in the Ryugu Palace, Zoro versus Hordy. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Luffy is captured by a group of stalwart fishermen who are enraged by Shirahoshi's apparent kidnapping. Suddenly, Vanderdecken appears, forcing Luffy into combat despite his arms being tied. If Luffy can escape to the sea forest, he will be reunited with Sanji, but the lecherous chef may not survive the sight of the mermaid princess.
On the next One Piece, keep Shirahoshi safe, Decken close behind. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Zoro and companions try to escape Ryugu Palace. However, the new Fishman pirates, powered by energy steroids, drive them into a corner once more. Meanwhile, Jinbe reunites with Luffy in the sea forest. And while Shirahoshi visits her mother's grave, he reveals his shocking connection to the Fishman, Arlong.
On the next One Piece, the Straw Hats defeated, Hordy gains control of the Ryugu Palace. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
As Jinbe reveals a piece of history, Nami remembers her tragic past. Sanji resents Jinbe for his involvement, but Nami gives him a chance to speak. The Fishman begins a tale from years ago, when two famous figures fought to undo the animosity that existed between humans and his kind.
On the next One Piece, the Haunting Ties, Nami and the Fishman Pirates. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Queen Otohime tries to lead the Ryugu Kingdom into an era of coexistence between humans and fishmen. Meanwhile, the heroic fisher Tiger battles humans to free their slaves from captivity. When the tales of these two historic figures cross, for better or for worse, the fate of Fishman Island will be immeasurably changed.
On the next One Piece, a hero who freed the slaves, an adventurer tiger. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Fisher Tiger attacks the Holy Land of Marie Joie, freeing those enslaved by the Celestial Dragons. As his journey continues, he encounters a human girl with a tragic past who he vows to reunite with her family. Unfortunately, his actions have drawn the attention of a very deadly adversary.
On the next One Piece, Kizaru appears, a trap to catch Tiger. I'm gonna be king of the pirates! Subscribe, you guys! Join our crew on the One Piece YouTube channel!